My name is CIFF². I am the director of Who Streets. When Mike Brown was killed, I was coming up toward the end of a job. I was working at a nonprofit organization that helps people who had been incarcerated to put their lives back together, reconnect with their families, and try to turn things around. And I was being really galvanized by other things that were going on in the news. Palestine was dealing with a lot that summer, and I was seeing the images that were coming out of there, and the killings of Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice and Eric Garner, and all these different people's deaths were piling up, and I just felt this intense pressure to somehow get involved and be hands-on. So I went to St. Louis with my director of photography, Lucas, and at first we wanted to just be there and see how we could contribute and find out what was going on for ourselves and find out some things to take back to our community in New York. And from the first time we went, it just felt like we had to come back and continue to try to see it through. So we started out writing and taking photographs, and the story just felt bigger than that, and we started rolling. So the first scene that you see in the film is actually the first interview that we ever shot, and I remember going home that night after that interview, and we were up until like 5 o'clock in the morning, just so excited about what we had learned, and we felt like from that moment on we had to stay, we had to see it through to whatever the end was going to be. So it was a really organic process of discovering how this story needed to be told, of building trust with the people in the film. I think the film functions in a lot of ways as like a litmus test, because there are images which someone came up to me after the Q&A and was like, I've never seen a lot of these images, and we really did try to go and find images of Black people in resistance, in defiance, but with dignity, not just angry and yelling, not just out in the streets, but also in their homes and their lives. We have to be able to say Black Lives Matter and not feel like, oh my God, do we hate white people? Oh my God, do we hate police? No, it's just a fact that Black lives do matter, just like everybody else's, and they're not being treated that way, which is why we need to bring it up. Each screening that I've been at, each Q&A that I've done, this is festival number 11, and the Q&As, the screening usually ends with a standing ovation and people very, very engaged and motivated. And I find that the energy in this city in particular felt here a little bit more kind of trepidation and hesitation from folks who were there who maybe didn't speak up. And I appreciated that everyone stayed for the Q&A, but I think that these images really present and are intended to present a level of cognitive dissonance to people who are on the outside of the situation. And so the response may not always be positive. The response may not always be the same rousing response. I think people of color who live through this in different iterations, they see very, very clearly what this film is, and they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like their experience is being represented. We might not all be Dr. King, we might not all be Malcolm X, we might not all be Ella Baker, but we can do things that impact people's lives, and any amount of change is important. And I think to enjoy the process, if we can, of engaging with that change and engaging with change in the world, and knowing like that's our job, that's why we're here. It's not some ultimate, far-reaching purpose. The purpose is to make this life as good as we can make it for one another.